Good morning, you're watching AnewZ. I'm Lee Brown. Here are your headlines. Trump to chair Gaza meeting at the White House on Wednesday. Zelensky says Turkey, the Gulf states, or Europe could host talks with Russia. And Tianjin gears up to host the largest ever Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. US President Donald Trump is leading a meeting on Gaza at the White House today. President's envoy Steve Witkoff says Washington expects the conflict to be settled by the end of this year. The US is also stepping up diplomatic contacts as Secretary of State Marco Rubio is meeting Israeli Foreign Minister Gideon Saar in Washington. All this comes after a night of heavy explosions in Gaza, with bright flashes lighting up the sky. Witkoff also said Israel was open to continuing discussions with Hamas. According to him, Hamas had signaled it was open to a settlement. Remaining on the subject, in Israel, thousands of people rallied in Tel Aviv on Tuesday in what organizers called a day of disruption. Families of hostages still held in Gaza led the march, calling on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to strike a deal with Hamas to end the war and bring their loved ones home. Among those speaking out, a woman who spent 471 days in Gaza as a hostage.
Thousands filled the streets of Tel Aviv, chanting, waving flags, and carrying placards with the faces of hostages still held in Gaza. Families led the rally, some breaking down in tears as images of their relatives lit up giant screens. Protesters demanded the government agree to a ceasefire deal with Hamas and secure the return of all captives. Hamas has warned that only a truce can bring the hostages back alive, accusing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of failing to act. For many families, the anguish has become unbearable, urging the government for a ceasefire to bring their loved ones home. Among them is Doron Steinbrecher, freed in January after more than a year in captivity. Two of her closest friends are still being held.
The important thing now is to bring all the hostages home. Every moment, every second, they are in danger. I've been there. I know what they thinking now, what they feeling now, the fear for your life. Every single moment you go to sleep and you don't know if you wake up.
The latest proposal calls for a 60-day ceasefire. 10 hostages and 18 bodies would be handed over in exchange for about 200 Palestinian prisoners. Talks would then move towards a permanent deal and the release of those still missing. Israel believes 50 hostages remain in Gaza, with around only 20 thought to be alive. For their families, every day without an agreement is another day of torment, waiting for news that may never come.
Now to Eastern Europe, where Ukraine is calling on its allies to accelerate work on security guarantees and says it's also open to talks with Russia in neutral countries. But on the ground, the fighting continues, with Ukrainian forces repelling a major Russian push in Dnipropetrovsk.
Potential peace talks with Russia could be hosted by Turkey, the Gulf states, or European countries, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. In his nightly address, he stressed it is now up to the United States to put pressure on Moscow. Zelensky has repeatedly called for a meeting with Vladimir Putin, though Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov insists no agenda has been prepared.
In the future, everything will depend solely on the will of world leaders, primarily on the United States of America, to put pressure on Russia. New steps are needed, new pressure. Sanctions, tariffs, all this must be on the table. We talked about this with General Kellogg yesterday. We are working with the Americans very thoroughly. After our meeting in Washington, we have a new basis for joint work.
At the same time, Zelensky urged its allies to speed up work on long-term security guarantees. After talks with Britain's Defence Chief Admiral Anthony Radakin on Tuesday, he said clarity and transparency were essential. US President Donald Trump, however, noted Washington has not yet discussed specific guarantees but has reaffirmed America's commitment to support Ukraine. On Monday, US Secretary of State Marco Rubio spoke with several European counterparts, including leaders from the UK, Finland and the European Union, to coordinate positions on security guarantees. Both European leaders and Zelensky have asked Rubio to take the lead in negotiations.
And the discussion we had on Thursday night with Trump, maybe the basic spirit was that I tried to gently express that it seems very unlikely that Putin will come to the same table as President Zelensky in particular. Well, a week later on Monday, and we received confirmation of this from Foreign Minister Lavrov, who questioned Zelensky's constitutional position as the leader of Ukraine. And I'm trying to convey the message to Trump all the time that this is typical Russian delaying tactic and they are very skilled at this. And now it's just a matter of time when President Trump will react to this and in what way.
Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Ukrainian forces confirmed that Russia has crossed into the eastern Dnipropetrovsk region. Commanders described it as the first assault of such scale in the area, but said the advance was halted. Moscow has long claimed progress in this direction, yet Kiev insists Russian troops have barely moved beyond the regional border.
Now, Donald Trump says he's prepared to impose economic sanctions against Russia if Vladimir Putin fails to agree to a ceasefire, warning of serious consequences. Speaking in Washington, the US president warned he would rather pursue what he called, quote, an economic war rather than risk a world war. Trump insisted he wants the war to end and urged both Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky to come to the table. Continuing with US diplomacy, where Washington is hosting high-level economic discussions between the United States and China. A senior Chinese delegation is in the capital this week, aiming to ease trade tensions and build on earlier rounds of negotiations. The talks come as both sides extend a fragile tariff truce through to November, giving industries brief relief.
A senior Chinese trade delegation led by Li Changgang is traveling to Washington this week to reopen the US-China trade talks, marking the highest-level Chinese economic visit to the US since 2023. The visit follows previous rounds of negotiations held in Geneva, London, and most recently Stockholm, where both sides sought to extend the current pause on tariffs and build momentum for deeper engagement. The visit also comes amid a fresh 90-day pause on tariffs, which maintains US tariffs on Chinese goods at 30% and Chinese tariffs on US goods at 10%. This tariff truce, which is set to last through November 10th, follows a series of escalations earlier this year under a sweeping retaliatory measures, which were rolled back after the Geneva talks in May. This extension provides temporary relief to US retail and toys, as well as Chinese electronics, machinery, and critical mineral markets such as rare earths. AnewZ, Beijing.
Staying with China, Tianjin is finalizing preparations to host the largest ever Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, which focuses on maintaining regional security and development. The city says it's upgraded infrastructure, improved public services, and introduced cultural and logistical enhancements to ensure a smooth and successful event for internal delegations.
Leaders from Africa, Asia, and Europe will be meeting up in China's northern port city of Tianjin at the end of the month for the largest ever Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. The gathering aims to review past cooperation, chart future strategies for the next decade for development and regional security, as well as adopt key documents. These include the Tianjin Declaration and a 10-year roadmap through to 2035. In readiness for the summit, the city has carried out a wide range of logistical and cultural upgrades, from enhancing international service facilities to introducing SCO-themed decorations. At rail transit stations, English directional signs have been standardized, and multilingual translation equipment has been installed to assist visiting delegations.
We have posted pictures of the SCO on the light boxes, passenger information system screens, and theme trains. We have set up multilingual translation machines at 63 core stations, which can support translation in over 40 languages.
Authorities have also strengthened traffic and public services using data and dynamic deployment to ensure smooth travel. Tianjin railway station is enhancing real-time monitoring and contingency plans to manage passenger flows, while the power department has introduced intelligent patrols, robots, and infrared detectors to guarantee reliable electricity supply.
After months of work in a meticulous and orderly manner, the preparatory tasks covering thousands of items in 10 sections, including environmental improvement, venue optimization, atmosphere creation, cultural and artistic display, meeting service, guest reception, and volunteer service, have all been completed.
This year's SCO summit will gather leaders from more than 20 countries and representatives of 10 international organizations, making it the most extensive meeting in the group's history and highlighting the organization's expanding global influence.
Iran reaffirmed support for the 3+3 format in the South Caucasus, with spokesperson Ismail Bagay noting it unites regional states with Russia, Turkey, and Iran. He stressed that the format helps resolve disputes, especially between Armenia and Azerbaijan, while limiting interference from outside powers. Bagay added that regional countries agree the platform should remain active and its effectiveness strengthened. Earlier, Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian told Russia's Vladimir Putin that the 3+3 remains the most effective way to address challenges in the South Caucasus. Now to Armenia, where a new survey by the Arar Foundation shows rising dissatisfaction with the country's leadership. 58% of the respondents disapprove of the National Assembly, while only 28% are satisfied with the government. On foreign policy, 73% of respondents do not believe long-term peace with Azerbaijan can be achieved through negotiations, and 74% doubt a peace document would bring stability. The survey, conducted before the Washington meeting, also shows older and financially secure respondents are more optimistic about peace. The poll also revealed strong views on Russia. 58% oppose the withdrawal of the Russian military base, while 38% support it. Earlier, AnewZ also conducted a vox pop in Yerevan, which yielded mixed results, depending on age, social status, and educational level of respondents. Region in Georgia, opposition parties are stepping up pressure on the government with a major rally planned for the 13th of September in Tbilisi. The announcement comes just days before an important European Union deadline on visa-free travel, which critics say the government has already failed to meet. At the heart of the opposition's message is unity and a demand to keep Georgia firmly on its European path.
8 Georgian opposition parties have announced a joint rally in Tbilisi on September 13. The march will begin at Tbilisi State University and move toward Parliament. Leaders said that demonstration is aimed at uniting pro-European forces and sending a clear message that the government does not represent the will of the Georgian people. The timing of the announcement is significant. August 31st marks the European Union's deadline for the Georgian government to take steps to safeguard visa-free travel to Europe. According to opposition leaders, the government has failed to act, further distancing the country from the European path. Elena Khoshtaria of the Coalition for Change and Tamer Chergoleshvili of the Federalists both stressed that the ruling party has ignored European demands and instead moved closer to Russia. The government has not yet responded directly to the rally announcement. However, the ruling party has consistently dismissed opposition criticism, framing it as an attempt to destabilize the country. Still, the September 13 march has the potential to draw attention both domestically and internationally. For Georgia, where the debate over European integration is deeply tied to its future direction, the rally could become a test of whether the opposition can truly channel public frustration into a unified political force. It's Nini Nikolaishvili reporting from Tbilisi, AnewZ.
Germany will resume admitting vulnerable Afghans stranded in Pakistan after months of delay, a foreign ministry official said on Tuesday. Around 2,000 Afghans approved for relocation to Germany have been left in limbo after Berlin froze admissions under its protection program. The suspension sparked lawsuits with advocacy groups now saying families who won court rulings will soon fly on commercial flights. Germany's Interior Ministry insists only those with binding approvals will be accepted after individual reviews and security checks, while exit permits from Pakistan remain necessary. Turning to South Asia, Pakistan is pressing ahead with mass evacuations of people in the Punjab province, where relentless monsoon rains have already displaced thousands of families. Authorities warn that more bad weather is due over the coming weeks, which could cause dams and rivers to overflow.
Pakistan continues to grapple with devastating floods as hundreds of thousands of people are forced to leave their homes. More than 150,000 have been displaced in the country's Punjab province, where intense monsoon rains have ravaged communities in recent weeks. The Sutlej River has reached a high flood level, prompting authorities to issue a high alert for the region.
Currently, the river's water flow stands at 122,000 cusecs, indicating a high flood level. However, many residents remain hesitant to leave their homes. We're prioritizing voluntary evacuations, providing transport services to those who want to relocate. So far, we've assisted over 5,000 people and evacuated more than 800 cattle. We're not resorting to forced evacuations at this time, focusing on supporting those who choose to leave.
The release of excess water from neighbouring India's dams threatens to further flood parts of Punjab, which serves as the country's breadbasket and is home to half of its 240 million people. Pakistan's National Disaster Management Authority said it had issued an advance alert to officials. Evacuations of people from the area are underway in several eastern districts of the province. The authority also warned that heavy rainfall was forecast across several Indian states, which could swell rivers and streams flowing into Pakistan. Authorities say floods across the country have killed 785 people since the monsoon began in late June and warn of 2 more rain spells before the 10th of September.
Now to Central Asia. Well, Almaty has been facing one of its most serious environmental challenges for years: air pollution. Kazakhstan's largest city ranks among the world's most polluted, seriously affecting the health of millions of residents. Our correspondent Fariza Kalimozina reports from Almaty with more details.
Almaty has been struggling with consistently high air pollution levels for the past decade. Monitoring shows that from 2015 to 2024, 9 out of 10 years recorded the city's air quality as heavily polluted, with only 2017 classified as moderately elevated. Earlier this year, the Swiss air quality company IQ Air ranked Almaty as the world's most polluted major city in real time. According to the Climate Change and Green Energy Project Office for Central Asia, over 2.3 million residents are exposed daily to air containing toxic substances beyond safe limits. The city's location worsens the issue. Situated in a basin at the foot of the Ilya-Latau Mountains, natural airflow is limited. Mountain and valley winds trap pollutants, especially in the northern areas. Also, uncontrolled large-scale construction over the last 20 years has only compounded the problem, with thick smoke blanketing the city for more than 6 months each year. Experts identify the main pollution sources as vehicle emissions, coal and wood heating in private homes on the outskirts, and emissions from 3 major thermal power plants. Heating with stoves adds particulate matter and toxic gases. Environmental specialists agree that addressing this issue requires a comprehensive strategy. Key measures include upgrading transport infrastructure, transitioning to cleaner fuels, tightening emission controls on power plants, and expanding gas supply to suburban neighborhoods. Also, regular monitoring and timely public updates about air quality are crucial to minimize health risks. Air pollution in Almaty is not only an environmental challenge, but also a social one affecting millions of lives. And new technologies and stricter environmental regulations are expected to be introduced this year to help improve this situation. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Farizia Kalimurzina, AnewZ.
Turkey faces a severe drought that is impacting water resources, with shrinking reservoirs and shortages affecting daily life, agriculture and industry. Officials are calling for urgent, sustainable water management and emergency actions. Our correspondent AnewZ reports.
Turkey is dealing with an ongoing nationwide drought. New analysis from the European Space Agency's Sentinel-2 satellites show soil moisture has dropped sharply nationwide this year. The findings confirm that rivers, reservoirs, and farmlands are drying fast. The Turkish State Meteorological Service provides interactive drought maps that show how much rainfall has occurred across Turkey compared to long-term norms. These maps highlight short and long-term drought trends by region, helping with water and agricultural planning. Experts stress that climate change is the driving force, and adaptation can't wait. Professor Şenol Hakan Kutoğlu of Zonguldak Bülent Ecevit University points to both agricultural and urban solutions, shifting to less water-demanding crops, planting drought-resistant species, installing green roofs, and introducing rainwater collection systems to capture rainfall. On the ground, reservoirs are sinking fast. Nationwide active storage has fallen to 42%, forcing major cities onto alert. In Istanbul, dam levels are 11% lower than last year, leading to less than 120 days of drinking water. Officials are already considering rotating cuts and restrictions. Turkey's capital Ankara is even more severe. Reservoirs are 19% full, but with only 8.5% usable, experts warn Ankara may face a crisis before Istanbul. In Izmir, the Tahtalı Dam has dropped under 7%. Supply cuts have tightened from every 5 days to every 3, while some neighborhoods are already without regular water. And in Bursa, the Nilüfer Dam has completely dried up, while Doğancı Dam holds just over a month's supply. Officials stress that demand management, fixing leaks, lowering pressure at night, and urging the public to save water can buy time. But without urgent adaptation, Turkey may face its harshest urban water crisis in decades. For AnewZ, this is AnewZ, Istanbul, Turkey.
That's all your news for now. Stay tuned to AnewZ and have a great morning.